Hello and welcome to Invader. Today I'm gonna make a video on social skills, how to run them and how to collect the data on them. So let's say I put for your client social skills number 1 through 10. So I'll be sending you the social skills which are look like this. Let's say for skill number 1, it looks like this. So skill number 1 is don't be Space Invader, and it has 2 items only. Item number 1 is, step number 1 is stand at least an arm's length away. You gotta keep your distance. And number 2 is don't get too close. All right, so those are the 2 steps. The client needs to memorize those 2 steps in that order. The first is, when I ask the client, hey, tell me how to don't be a Space Invader, he or she will have to say, number 1, stand at least an arm's length away, and number 2 is don't get too close. All right, now, he or she needs to memorize that, and then the therapist needs to do the suggested activities for don't be Space Invader. So they suggesting role play situations where the student must modify his personal space. And then you're gonna be creative on this one. For example, if you are going to a movie theater and the movie theater is pretty much empty, do you sit right next to somebody who's sitting there whom you don't know, or do you leave a seat in the middle? You will leave a couple of seats in the middle. Now, if the theater is really packed, then that's the only chair available. You have to sit there. So different scenarios. They say here, greeting others for the first time, you see them and say goodbye when you leave. So you don't have, when you greet others for the first time, you don't have to get too close. You just say hello or goodbye. Standing in line at school or public or movie or the store, when you're standing in line, you don't have to be right close to the person. You could live an arm's length away. All right? Because nobody's gonna skip in front of you for living an arm's length away. And even more now with the COVID-19 that you have to live 6. So now it's easy to be, don't get too close with the COVID-19, but this was done prior to COVID-19. In other words, this is similar to social distancing a little bit. But an arm's length away is not 6 feet, so COVID-19 takes it to the extreme. So 6 feet would be like from here to here. They just say an arm's length away, so you're not too close to the other person. Especially if it's somebody who is not family or a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You don't want to get that close to the other person because they're going to get uncomfortable. So the practice, the therapist needs to ask themselves a question: who will I try this with? Okay, so does the client have a sister or brother that I could try this with? Or I'm going to try with a peer at school? When? In what situation? And then what happened? How did the client react to it? How did he do? You need to read all of this and come up with ideas. Now, for this particular one, this is the 2 things that you need to be looking at: that he doesn't get too close and he leaves the arm's length away from the other person. Now, when you're gonna go to collect data on it, you need to have this data sheet. Now, here where it says client, you gotta put the client initials. Where it says skill number, this should be skill number 1, which is skill number 1, the one that we're talking about. The skill number 1. Therefore, you put a number 1 here. And then you're gonna use SS for social skill, ST for social story, and CC is for comic cartoon conversation. I'm gonna be talking only today about social skills, so forget about these 2 right here, and then just concentrate on the SS. So for SS, you're gonna put a criterion level, and the criterion level is found I'll have to send you this document as well. All right. Criterion levels right here, from 1 being the lowest score and 7 being the highest score. And then you need to read through it. 1 is the client is able to repeat the steps with some prompting. Then 2 is able to repeat or summarize the social skill with no prompting. And then number 3, summarize the story with no prompting and give a rationale as to why he will use the social skill, and can identify what social context she will do the social story with some prompting. And so number 4 is the same, but with no prompting. And then number 5 is can give an example as to when to use the skill, give the scenario as an example. In other words, he's gonna give a little story of when to use the social skill. Number 6 is given the opportunity to engage in the social skill. The client is able to use the social skill with some prompting. In other words, this is real life, but you're gonna assist him with some prompting. And then number 7, he could do the social story with no prompting, independent by himself. And so based on his performance, you're gonna put a number here on the data sheet. Let's say the first time you collect data on social skill number 1 is just 1. He's able to repeat the steps. Number 2, then the next time is 1 again, and then it's number 2 because he was able to say with some rationale and some prompting, and then number 3, so on until he reaches number 7 for 2 consecutive weeks, and that'll be considered mastered. So once he gets to 7 twice, 2 weeks, then it's considered mastered. And then number 2, skill number 2 is gonna be the same, and 3 all the way to 10. Now here we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're gonna need 2 data sheets. You need 1 through 8. One through 8, and then another data sheet that has 9 and 10. So in the binder, you're gonna have 2 data sheets for the 10 social skills. And then number 2 is gonna look, number 2, the title is listening position. It has 4 steps, which is making eye contact, sitting, stay still, quiet, hands and feet, don't interrupt, don't talk while others are talking. If you're in class and you want to say something, raise your hands. So the client needs to know these steps, practice who you're gonna try with, when, what happened, how did I do? And then the role playing and the suggested activities for that particular social skill. And then you're gonna collect data. How did he do for skill number 2? And then for skill number 3, this is gonna be the last sample, because you're gonna continue all the way through number 10, but let's do number 5 better. Skill number 5 looks something like this. How and when to interrupt. It has 5 steps, and the client needs to memorize them all, and then he needs to do it by himself in the proper context in a social situation to be mastered. Suggested activities, and then you have the criteria 1 through 7, and you put it here for number 5, where it says social skill, and so on.